Every man has been there. She's crying, you don't know why, and suddenly you feel like you're defusing a bomb with no training manual. Your heart rate spikes, your palms sweat, and your brain screams, "Do something!" But here's what nobody tells you. Most of the time, the right move is to do absolutely nothing. Let me explain how to handle emotional situations without losing yourself, your sanity, or your relationship in the process. Her emotions are her own responsibility, full stop. This is the foundation everything else builds on. Some women feel joy, sadness, anger, frustration. These are her experiences, her internal weather system. You're not the weatherman. You didn't cause the storm and you're not responsible for making it sunny again. She's an adult human being with a fully functional emotional regulation system. Let her use it. But men often feel pressured to fix her emotions immediately. We're problem solvers by nature. We see tears and think malfunction that needs repair. We hear complaints and think issue requiring solution. This instinct serves us well in most areas of life, but with emotions, it's like trying to nail jello to a wall. The harder you try, the messier it gets. I had a client whose girlfriend would cry every Sunday night, like clockwork. He'd spend hours trying to figure out what was wrong, offering solutions, making promises to fix whatever was bothering her. It took him 6 months to realise she just had anxiety about Monday mornings. Nothing to do with him, nothing he could fix, just her processing the transition from weekend to work week. Here's the trap. Trying to stop her tears can accidentally reward the behaviour. When you rush in with comfort, gifts, promises, or grand gestures every time she gets emotional, you're training a response pattern. It's basic psychology. Behaviour that gets rewarded gets repeated. You think you're being caring, but you're actually creating a feedback loop where emotions become currency. Think about it like training a dog. If the dog barks and you give it treats to quiet down, what happens? More barking. Same principle applies here. If emotional outbursts consistently lead to attention, validation, or getting her way, guess what you'll see more of? This isn't manipulation necessarily. It's just how human behaviour works. Emotional reactions become leverage when reinforced, whether consciously or not. Some women learn early that tears get results, not through evil planning, but through experience. Cry as a child, get picked up. Cry as a teenager, get out of trouble. Cry as an adult, get your way. If it works, why would they stop? You're not dealing with malice, you're dealing with learned behaviour. Most of the time, the correct response is non-interference. Let her feel what she feels, don't rush in to save her from her own emotions. She's not drowning, she's just swimming in rough water. She knows how to swim. Your job isn't to drain the pool, it's to let her navigate her own emotional waters while you stay steady on shore. This doesn't mean being cold or dismissive. You can acknowledge without engaging. I see you're upset is acknowledgement. Let me fix everything that's making you upset is engagement. Big difference. One respects her autonomy, the other assumes she's helpless. Men need to separate their values from her mood completely. Your principles, decisions, and boundaries shouldn't fluctuate based on her emotional state. If you wouldn't do something when she's happy, don't do it when she's crying. If you would do something when she's calm, do it even when she's angry. Your compass points north, not toward her feelings. I see men abandon their entire life plans because their partner had an emotional reaction. Cancel the boys' trip because she got sad. Quit the gym because she felt insecure. Change careers because she got anxious. Your life decisions should be based on logic, values, and long-term thinking, not on someone else's temporary emotional state. Crying is rarely a sign of true crisis, despite how it feels in the moment. Tears are just salt water. They're a release valve, not a fire alarm. People cry at commercials, songs, cute puppies. Tears don't automatically mean something terrible has happened, or that immediate action is required. Yet men act like female tears are made of acid that will burn through the foundation of their relationship, if not immediately neutralized. Some women's emotional states shift faster than cryptocurrency prices. She's devastated at breakfast, fine by lunch, ecstatic at dinner, and melancholy by bedtime. This isn't instability necessarily, it's just a different emotional rhythm. Men tend to have emotional states. Some women have emotional weather systems, constantly changing, constantly moving, rarely settling in one place for long. Don't confuse temporary emotional turbulence with permanent problems. Just because she's upset right now doesn't mean your relationship is failing. Just because she's crying doesn't mean something needs to be fixed. Just because she's angry doesn't mean you did something wrong. Emotions are temporary visitors, not permanent residents. Use what I call dad sense before getting involved. Would a good father rush to fix every tear his child shed? No. He'd assess, is there real danger? Did I cause this? Is this my responsibility? Is intervention actually helpful here? Apply the same logic. Not every emotional display requires your participation. Here's the assessment framework. First, is there an actual problem or just an emotional reaction? Second, if there's a problem, did you cause it? Third, if you caused it, was it through wrongdoing or just by being yourself? Fourth, if it was wrongdoing, is the response proportional? Only if you get 4 yes answers should you take action. Only act if there's a genuine obligation on your part. You broke a promise? That's on you. You forgot an important date? Your responsibility. You were genuinely hurtful? Time to apologize. But she's upset because her friend got engaged and she didn't? Not your circus, not your monkeys. She's crying because work was stressful. That's life, not your failure. Some men feel responsible for every negative emotion their partner experiences. She stubs her toe, and somehow you should have prevented it. She has a bad dream, and you should have protected her sleep. She reads sad news, and you should have filtered the internet. This isn't partnership, it's parentification. She's an adult, not your emotional dependent. Attraction and preferences aren't problems to solve. She wishes you were taller, not a problem you can solve. She wants you to be more romantic. That's a preference, not a deficiency. She doesn't like your friends. That's her opinion, not your obligation. Stop treating every dissatisfaction as a mandate for change. Her crying isn't a demand for you to reshape your life. Tears aren't orders. Emotions aren't instructions. Feelings aren't commands. Some women have learned that emotional displays get results, so they deploy them strategically. But you're not customer service, and tears aren't a complaint that requires resolution. A client's wife would cry whenever he wanted to see his family. Every single time. For years, he'd cancel plans to comfort her. Finally, he just went anyway. She cried. He acknowledged it and left. She was fine when he got back. The tears were a test, not genuine distress. Once they stopped working, they stopped happening. Men should explore why female sadness affects them so deeply. Most of us are hardwired to respond to female distress. It's biological, evolutionary. Crying women triggered protective responses that kept the tribe alive. But we're not in tribes anymore, and not every tear is a tiger attack. Understanding your programming helps you override it when necessary. Some men had mothers who used emotions as weapons. Tears meant guilt. Sadness meant you failed. Anger meant danger. These men become hypersensitive to female emotions because their childhood survival depended on managing mum's feelings. If this is you, recognize it. Your partner isn't your mother, and her emotions aren't your childhood trauma. Crying in front of you is often a sign it isn't a severe wound. The deepest pain usually produces silence, withdrawal, shut down. When someone is truly devastated, they often can't cry, they just go blank. So paradoxically, dramatic emotional displays often indicate manageable distress, not catastrophic pain. Real trauma looks like staring at walls, not performing emotions. Real devastation is quiet, not loud. Real pain withdraws, not approaches. If she's crying at you rather than just crying, it's likely more about communication than actual distress. Here's what healthy emotional handling looks like in practice. She starts crying. You ask, "Do you need anything from me?" Not "what's wrong?" Not "how can I fix this?" Just a simple offer of support. If she says yes, find out what specifically. If she says no, believe her and carry on with your day. The power of neutral acknowledgement cannot be overstated. "I see you're having a tough time," validates without engaging. "That sounds frustrating," acknowledges without owning. "I'm here if you need me," offers without imposing. These phrases respect her emotions without making them your responsibility. Some women will test your boundaries with emotions. They'll escalate to see when you'll crack. Crying becomes sobbing. Sadness becomes devastation. Frustration becomes rage. They're looking for your breaking point, where you'll abandon your position to comfort them. Don't fail this test. Stay steady. A man I counselled had a girlfriend who would have anxiety attacks whenever he had plans she didn't like. Hyperventilating, crying, the works. He always counselled to help her. Then one time, he didn't. He said, "I'm sorry you're anxious. I'll see you when I get back." The anxiety attacks stopped immediately. They were performance, not pathology. The difference between support and enabling is crucial. Support is, "I'm sorry you're struggling. What are you going to do about it?" Enabling is, "I'm sorry you're struggling. Let me fix it for you." Support builds strength. Enabling builds dependence. Choose wisely. Your emotional stability is your greatest asset in these situations. While her emotions are waves, you're the lighthouse. Steady, unmoved, consistent. The waves crash, recede, crash again. The lighthouse stands. This isn't lack of empathy, it's emotional leadership. Someone needs to stay stable, and biology elected you. Some women actually feel safer when you don't get pulled into their emotional storms. When you stay calm while they're chaotic, it shows strength. It shows you can handle pressure. It shows you won't fall apart when life gets difficult. Your steadiness becomes their anchor, but only if you don't get swept away. The manipulation versus genuine emotion distinction matters. Some tears are real release, others are tools. How do you tell? Genuine emotion doesn't have an agenda. It doesn't watch for your reaction. It doesn't escalate based on your response. It just is. Manipulative emotion has a goal, watches for effect, adjusts tactics based on results. I knew someone whose girlfriend would cry during every disagreement. Not after, during. The moment he made a point she couldn't refute, tears. It redirected every discussion from the issue to her feelings. It took him years to realize it was a debate tactic, not emotional overwhelm. Once he stopped responding to the tears, she miraculously developed the ability to disagree without crying. The timing tells you everything. Tears during important discussions, suspicious, emotional breakdowns before events she doesn't want to attend, convenient, anxiety attacks when you set boundaries, tactical. When emotions consistently appear at strategically advantageous moments, they're strategies, not genuine feelings. Your responsibility is to your commitments, not her emotions. If you promise something, deliver regardless of her feelings about it. If you committed to something, follow through despite her reactions. Your word should mean more than her tears. Your integrity should outweigh her emotions. Men become emotional janitors, constantly cleaning up feelings that aren't their mess. She's upset about a job. You're trying to fix it. She's sad about her friends. You're managing it. She's angry about politics. You're somehow responsible. Stop. You're not the emotion waste management department. The healthy boundary looks like this. I care that you're upset, but I can't fix this for you. It acknowledges her humanity while maintaining your boundaries. It shows empathy without accepting responsibility. It's caring without caretaking. Women who can regulate their own emotions make better partners. Look for signs of emotional self-sufficiency. Can she calm herself down? Can she cheer herself up? Can she process feelings without requiring an audience? These women don't need emotional janitors because they handle their own emotional housekeeping. The victim mindset versus ownership mindset is crucial to recognize. Some people see emotions as things that happen to them, like weather. Others see emotions as things they experience and process. The first group expects rescue. The second group handles their business. Choose partners from the second group. Your attention is a resource, and emotions are often bids for that resource. When you consistently respond to emotional displays with intense attention, you're teaching that emotions equal attention. This creates an economy where feelings become currency, and you're the bank. Some women learned early that negative emotions get more response than positive ones. Happy? Parents barely notice. Crying? Everyone rushes over. This pattern continues into adulthood. They don't necessarily want to be upset, they want the attention being upset provides. The validation trap is real. She expresses an emotion, you validate it. She expresses a bigger emotion, you validate more. Eventually, you're validating completely unreasonable emotional responses just to keep peace. But peace purchased with validation isn't peace, it's appeasement. Here's the practical framework for emotional situations. Acknowledge, don't absorb. Witness, don't fix. Support, don't save. Respect, don't rescue. These boundaries keep you sane while still being a caring partner. The emotional firefighter mentality destroys men. You're not on call 24/7 for emotional emergencies. You're not required to drop everything for every feeling. You're not responsible for preventing all emotional discomfort. You're a partner, not a first responder. Some situations require professional help, not boyfriend intervention. Chronic anxiety, therapist, depression, counsellor, trauma responses, professional support. You're not qualified to treat mental health issues, and pretending you are helps nobody. Know when to say, "This is beyond what I can help with." The difference between processing and wallowing matters. Processing moves through emotions toward resolution. Wallowing sits in emotions without progress. Support processing. Don't enable wallowing. If she's been crying about the same issue for 6 months without any action, that's not processing. Your energy is finite. Every emotional crisis you manage drains your reserves. Save your energy for real crises, genuine problems, actual emergencies. Don't spend your emotional capital on manufactured drama or recreational sadness. Some women use emotions as a control mechanism. When you do what they want, they're happy. When you don't, they're devastated. It's emotional conditioning, like training a seal. Don't be the seal. Make decisions based on logic and values, not on which choice produces better emotional weather. The confidence that comes from emotional boundaries is attractive. When you don't crumble at tears, don't panic at anger, don't scramble at sadness, you demonstrate strength. This strength is more attractive than any amount of emotional caretaking could ever be. Testing behaviours often escalate before they stop. When you first establish boundaries, emotional displays might intensify. She's checking if you really mean it. This extinction burst is normal. Stay consistent and it will pass. Cave and you'll teach that escalation works. The male burden of emotional labour is rarely discussed. Men are expected to be emotional stability for everyone while processing their own emotions alone. You're supposed to be her therapist while having no outlet yourself. This isn't sustainable or fair. Your emotional needs matter too. While you're managing her feelings, who's managing yours? While you're validating her emotions, who's validating yours? The relationship should be emotionally reciprocal, not a one-way therapy session. Some partners weaponize vulnerability. You open up about insecurities, and suddenly those insecurities become ammunition during arguments. You share fears, and those fears get used against you. This teaches men to stay emotionally closed, which women then complain about. The emotional vampire phenomenon is real. Some people feed on emotional intensity. They create drama for the energy it provides. They start conflicts for the stimulation. They generate crises for the attention. These people will drain you dry if you let them. Healthy relationships have emotional boundaries. Both people manage their own feelings primarily. Support is offered, not demanded. Emotions are shared, not dumped. There's reciprocity, not extraction. If your relationship doesn't have these boundaries, you're not in a partnership, you're in an emotional servitude. The childhood programming many men carry needs examination. Were you mum's emotional support? Did dad make you responsible for keeping mum happy? Did family peace depend on managing female emotions? These patterns repeat in adult relationships unless consciously broken. Some women mistake emotional management for love. They think if you're not actively managing their feelings, you don't care. This is like thinking if someone isn't constantly feeding you, they want you to starve. Adults feed themselves, adults manage themselves. The liberation that comes from releasing emotional responsibility is profound. When you realize her feelings aren't your job, weight lifts from your shoulders. You can be present without being pressured. You can care without caretaking. You can love without losing yourself. Your boundaries teach people how to treat you. If you respond to every emotional display, you teach that emotions get results. If you maintain boundaries regardless of emotions, you teach that emotions don't override principles. You're always teaching. Make sure the lesson is one you want learned. The stable man in any emotional storm is incredibly attractive to healthy women. When you don't get pulled into drama, don't match emotional energy, don't abandon yourself to manage feelings, you demonstrate the kind of strength that quality partners seek. Some tests are worth failing. If maintaining your boundaries means she leaves, let her leave. If refusing to be manipulated ends the relationship, it needed to end. If staying stable costs you an unstable partner, that's a win, not a loss. The practical application starts today. Next time she has an emotional reaction, pause. Assess. Is this your responsibility? Did you cause actual harm? Is action required? If the answer isn't clearly yes to all three, stay steady. Acknowledge what you see. Offer support if appropriate, but don't abandon yourself. The masculine frame is about being unmoved by emotional weather, not uncaring, unmoved. You can care about her feelings without being controlled by them. You can acknowledge emotions without accepting responsibility for them. This is what emotional leadership looks like. Some women will deeply respect these boundaries. They'll feel safer knowing you can't be emotionally manipulated. They'll trust you more knowing you're steady under pressure. They'll be attracted to the strength that doesn't crumble at tears. These are the women worth keeping. The others will rage against boundaries. They'll escalate, manipulate, threaten. They'll call you cold, uncaring, emotionally unavailable. They'll try every tactic to break your frame. Let them. Their reaction tells you everything about whether they deserve access to your life. Your emotional sovereignty is non-negotiable. Your feelings, your reactions, your responses belong to you. Her feelings, her reactions, her responses belong to her. This separation isn't cruel. It's crucial for healthy relationships. The energy you save by not managing others' emotions can be invested in your own growth. Your goals, your health, your interests, your development. Imagine what you could accomplish if you weren't spending hours managing someone else's feelings. Some men discover they were only in relationships for the emotional labor. Once they stop providing free therapy, there's nothing left. The relationship was just him managing her emotions. If this is your situation, that's not a relationship worth saving. The respect that comes from emotional boundaries changes everything. When she knows she can't manipulate you with tears, she'll use words. When emotions don't work, actual communication begins. This is where real relationships start. Your peace is worth more than her emotional comfort. Your stability is worth more than her validation. Your boundaries are worth more than her approval. Remember this when emotions are deployed to make you forget. The strongest frame is calm observation. Watch the emotions without joining them. Observe the patterns without being pulled in. Notice the tactics without responding to them. You become the scientist of your own relationship, studying dynamics without becoming the subject. Some women need emotional chaos to feel alive. Without drama, they feel empty. Without intensity, they feel bored. These women will create problems just to feel something. You cannot fix this. You cannot fill this void. You can only decide if you want to live in constant storms. The path forward is clear. Establish boundaries. Maintain frame. Stay consistent. Don't be cruel, but don't be controlled. Don't be dismissive, but don't be manipulated. Don't be uncaring, but don't be consumed. This is the balance that creates healthy relationships. When you master this, everything changes. Relationships become partnerships, not rescue missions. Emotions become experiences, not emergencies. Life becomes peaceful, not perpetual crisis management. This isn't just about dealing with emotional women, it's about reclaiming your life. The message is simple, but not easy. Her emotions are not your responsibility. Your emotions are not her weapons. Boundaries are not cruelty. Stability is not lack of caring. You can be a loving partner without being an emotional janitor. This isn't about not caring. It's about caring intelligently. It's about supporting without saving, loving without losing yourself, being present without being consumed. It's about being a partner, not a parent, a lover, not a therapist, a man, not an emotional support animal. The freedom on the other side of these boundaries is incredible. No more walking on eggshells, no more emotional hostage situations, no more managing moods, just clear, clean relating between two adults who handle their own emotions and support each other from stability. Some women reading this will be furious. Men should care about feelings. We do care. We just don't want to be controlled by them. This is emotional neglect. No, it's emotional adulthood. This is toxic masculinity. No, it's healthy boundaries. The men who need this message will recognize its truth immediately. You've been carrying emotional burdens that aren't yours. You've been managing feelings that aren't your responsibility. You've been sacrificing your peace for someone else's chaos. It's time to stop. Your life is waiting on the other side of these boundaries. Your goals, your peace, your growth, your happiness. All waiting for you to stop being everyone's emotional manager and start being your own man. The implementation starts with the next emotional situation. Remember, acknowledge, don't absorb, support, don't save, care, don't caretake. These simple principles will transform your relationships and your life. I want to hear from you guys. What emotional management burdens have you been carrying? When did you realize her emotions weren't your responsibility? What changed when you established boundaries? Drop your stories in the comments. Let's normalize men having emotional boundaries. Let's celebrate emotional sovereignty. because your peace matters, and you don't have to sacrifice it for anyone's feelings.